Hello, beautiful soul family. Rebecca here, your Vibe Mentor, bringing you another video on how to raise your vibration so you can live your best life. Let's talk today about shame. First of all, I will just say I just came from the pool. I don't have a lot of time today. Got to get this video done. So it's interesting that we have a video about shame because the old me would have said, I can't do a video just coming from the pool. I'm taking my kids back to the pool, so I can't change. So I would have gone to all of these great lengths to make sure that everything was prim and proper and taken care of. But it is very, of course, timely that we are talking about shame today. And what is really interesting is when the topic of shame was first brought to my attention through my therapist, I felt this kind of sense of denial, that I don't feel shame. I don't know why we're talking about this. And I often find that when I bring it to the attention of my clients, that the response is the same. I don't feel shame. I might feel a general sense of unworthiness or the world is not safe. But as you dig into it, and I say that so that you can keep your eyes open, listen to this video and just hear me out and see if any of this plays out in your life. Because what I found was that while I never would have considered myself to feel shameful, when I did understand how it shows up and how it plays out in my life, I realized, oh, I actually do. And part of the reason we're not able to see it is because it would be shameful to feel shame, right? So our brain's job is trying to keep us safe. It tries to keep us from looking at, right? Don't look at that thing that's going to hurt me. Don't go there. Don't address the trauma. Don't do the thing that caused you pain in the first place. When unfortunately or fortunately, the very thing that we need to do to heal the shame, heal the unworthiness, heal the trauma, get all of these blocks up and out of us is to look at them. That if you flip on a light in a dark room, the darkness must flee. And by shining the light of our awareness on a situation, on a block, on a behavior, on a pattern, on a painful memory, we are shedding light on it and therefore it cannot survive. And the same is true for shame. As soon as you speak it out loud, it cannot survive. So let's dig in. What is shame? Shame is defined as a painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by a consciousness of wrong or selfish behavior. Shame is an emotion that occurs when you evaluate or judge yourself in a negative light. For example, you may experience shame if you view yourself as worthless, weak, bad, or useless. There's a lot of lisses in there. So how is it created? When we experience a bad feeling as a child, we may come to believe that we are bad, and feeling shameful about the way we feel, including having shame, creates insecurity and confusion over how to express it. When we feel shame, we may feel it because we have violated social norms that we believe in, right? That's where the shoulds come in. We should all over ourselves. I should have done this, or I should have done that, or I should not have done this, or I should not have done that. We feel humiliated, we feel exposed and small, and we are unable to look another person straight in the eye. And for me, that was the biggest telltale sign, is looking others in the eye. We want to sink into the ground and disappear. Many times, especially as spiritual beings, we will chalk that up to being hypersensitive or to people not being safe. But that feeling of wanting to shrink back is a trauma response due to the shame caused by it. Shame makes us direct our focus inward, and we become so entirely focused on ourselves, trying to keep ourselves safe, trying to protect ourselves from our shame. But unfortunately, it's always in a negative light. Researchers have theorized that we experience shame following a traumatic event, and we may even develop unhealthy coping mechanisms to deal with it because the pain is just so great. It is too difficult for us to face it. So self-avoidant behaviors, self-destructive behaviors, addiction, they can interfere with our ability to process the emotions associated with the traumatic event because we become so dependent on the coping mechanism. It distracts us and pulls us away from the processing of the trauma. So when someone has shame, they are hurting themselves internally. blaming themselves for the event that may have caused their trauma and the transgressions committed against them. Now, most often in my experience and in my experience with clients, the shame around what happened to us is a responsibility that we have taken for something that someone else chose to do. And somehow we believe that we deserved it, we invited it, we created it. And even if it's at a subconscious level, especially when it happens in childhood, there's no logical reasoning as to why on earth would you take responsibility for the way that person behaved towards you. But it doesn't matter. The trauma brain, the shame, it's not logical. It doesn't make sense, and that's okay. But just know, as you look back at these experiences, you say, I'm somehow unlovable or bad or wrong or broken because of this thing that happened. All that we're doing here today is shedding light on the fact that the tendency will be to blame yourself for it, and you are not to blame. That is the first moment of flipping that light switch on in the dark room. We're just shining awareness on the fact that this is probably going to happen, and that's okay. In fear, we override ourselves and others, and we don't give others protection. So what's happening in that moment is we are self-abandoning. We're taking responsibility for the way others behaved, the way others treated us. And in that moment, we abandon ourselves and we don't provide the protection for ourselves that we deserve, that no one taught us to give ourselves. No one ever told me to take care of myself or to care about how I felt, or that my needs were valid, or that sense of something's just wrong here is right. Nobody ever said stand up for yourself. Trust that feeling of wrongness and know that it's okay to say this isn't right. And that's why I'm here for you, is to say it's time to honor yourself, to love yourself, to be the one to show up not only for the inner child who is still stuck in that traumatic, shameful state, but your adult self. In every moment that you feel something isn't right, we trust ourselves. Knowing, yes, that the trauma brain may be telling us it's not safe when it is, but that's okay. We're not going to force that issue. We're going to protect ourselves in the meantime until we can get to a place of healing where we can recognize and separate the trauma voice from the real you. In shame, we cover our vulnerability just in case people see how bad we are, because we don't want to allow ourselves real connection, because that's too dangerous. You never know if I'm going to get hurt again, how they might treat me, what they might do to me. And in that, it's a little bit of a self-abandonment again, because we don't trust ourselves enough. We don't honor and respect the way we feel and the guidance we are being given to remove ourselves from these situations. And so we feel shame. It's a battle you can't win, a tug of war. Damned if you do and damned if you don't. So how does it affect us? How does it show up? How do you know if you're dealing with this? So like I said, looking people in the eye, that was my number one. Wanting to shrink back in especially in a big room of people, all eyes on me, it felt terrifying. People who live with shame often feel, like I said, worthless, depressed, anxious, low self-esteem, constantly ashamed, living out a difficult emotion and mental battle each and every day. I know I experienced that mulling over in your head, that constant internal focus of who am I? What am I doing? Am I doing it right or wrong? Are they judging me? Did I make a mistake? Should I feel bad about that thing? I mean, instantly, the second you wake up, your brain just goes, what do I have to worry about? If you're afraid of looking stupid or saying the wrong thing, you don't try new things, you don't speak up. Again, you avoid being the center of attention and wish you could shrink back into the walls. Shame will make you feel like you can't be your true self and that your true self is somehow inadequate. If I sit here and I tell you, you are a gorgeous, divine, beautiful being made with purpose and intention, and the world needs that gift that only you have, you are special, you are lovable, you are valuable simply because you breathe. The shame And the trauma voice are going to say, well, if she really knew the real me, she wouldn't say that. Notice those voices and start to separate them from yourself. You are not those thoughts. You are not the trauma brain. If somebody brings up something you should feel ashamed about, you might look down, avoid eye contact, talk in a soft voice. Suddenly, maybe even you feel like you can't move. The way the fight or flight mechanism works is first we're in rest and digest, then we get triggered into fight or flight. And if we're really in those extreme states of distress, fawn and freeze. Paralyzation. Can't think, can't remember what to say. And then you walk away from the situation and go, why did my mind go blank? What's wrong with me? Trauma voice sitting there yelling at you. What's wrong with you? You may hate doing things spontaneously, have a hypervigilance, an extensive need for control and making sure that everything's buttoned up and happening in order the way you planned so that everything feels under control. Sometimes it gets to the point where you paralyze yourself through that need for control. If things get too out of order, outside the plan, it's too much to handle. Overwhelm and shut down. You're afraid of saying the wrong thing or looking stupid, so you won't do new things or speak up because of it. Shame will make you feel worthless, sometimes hypersensitive, give you social anxiety. It leads to a feeling of emptiness and loneliness. Again, it's kind of that damned if you do, damned if you want. I have this desire for connection. I have this desire and need to be around people because we all are built for connection. We literally starve to death without it. But yet, it's too scary. It's too difficult to go out and be in social environments. So we stay home in hermit mode or in healing mode. We isolate, and then depression because of loneliness kicks in. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Can lead to high blood pressure, stomach problems, insomnia, alcohol or narcotic addiction, eating disorders. I even find autoimmune disease. One study determined that external shame, which is the fear of others judging you negatively, is associated with anorexia, while internal shame, our negative self-evaluation and self-generated criticism, is associated with bulimia. It's interesting how consistent the patterns are, that these are proven theories, proven through, I don't want to say proven, maybe that's a little strong. There are many tests that suggest a strong correlation and a consistent definition, a measurable behavior and response pointing towards one cause. And yet, people are not made aware of this unless you study psychology or you get a good therapist. You're not alone in this. This is a very big global issue. Many people are dealing with complex trauma. With complex trauma comes shame. You are not alone. So what does it take to get rid of it? It's not a life sentence. Hurrah! We can get out. So number one, first and foremost, choices. Choosing your core beliefs. Check out the core belief video that we did. Choosing a positive core belief, noticing the fear and watching the fear or shame, and choosing the opposite. So if you have fear or shame around protection and connection, choose the opposite. So shame cannot survive being spoken. Bring it out into the light of day. When you experience shame, taking the opposite action will be most helpful for that. So an example would be if you feel shame as though you need to do something self-destructive, so much shame that you feel like you want to harm yourself, then the opposite action would be something self-soothing, showing yourself compassion, developing positive coping mechanisms. So for me, this journey of self-love has been, and I've done videos on that, so just search the channel for self-love, self-care. First, what came up was around caring about myself enough to honor the needs, the current needs. So I would be pushing so hard and trying to get so much done in a day that there was no time for me to stop and get something to eat while I was grocery shopping. I would give my kids snacks. I would pack everybody a lunch to go to the pool or whatever it was, but I was pushing so hard that it didn't matter if I was hungry. Or I'm thirsty and I wait an hour or two to get a drink. Or I need to go to the bathroom and it's no, let's get these other things done first. So first self-love, self-care started with what do I need? Checking in every moment, loving myself enough to give myself a hug and say, I see that we're not feeling very good right now. What is it that you need? What can I give you? And speaking to myself as if I was, separated fragments, because we all do have parts of ourselves. Then the journey became discipline, going to bed early enough that I'm not going to be so tired and exhausted, not having a glass of wine every night, certain disciplines around diet and exercise, things that make me feel better when I have those boundary disciplines. But again, that was self-love. And then it went into an even funner, more enjoyable phase of, how can I treat myself in a healthy way right now? Maybe I'll buy myself flowers. Maybe I'll buy, a delicious smelling watermelon scrub. Maybe I'll take those roses that I bought and create a flower bath with essential oils. You see how it grows into new levels of self-care. And what I found was in those moments where I was feeling crappy, maybe, and I wouldn't say I was feeling shame, but I just wasn't feeling good. But that was perpetuated by the lifelong self-deprecation and self-abandonment and denying of my needs. And so when I would get to that point of like, oh, I just want a glass of wine, I would say, what is it that I really need right now? Oh, I'm hungry. Maybe we should just eat, hey? Right? Or I'm tired. Maybe the rest of the to-do list is for tomorrow. And taking those moments to honor your needs will satisfy the initial urge to do something self-destructive. The next strategy would be therapy. Obviously, it goes without saying, we need support, therapy, mentoring, coaching. Just get somebody who is your cheerleader to be on your side, to be there, to hear you, to listen to, and to be a safe place for you to speak that shame out loud, because it cannot survive being spoken. So you need somebody that you can fully express to. Be yourself truly. Release the old, scarred, toxic feelings that weigh you down. And last but not least, but most importantly, brain spotting. Brain spotting is a proven psychological modality. It is a brain-body based mindful therapy where we use a pointer to find an access point through your eyes. The eyes are connected to the limbic brain through the optical nerve. The limbic brain houses all of the trauma and sort of the programs, the patterns that we live out subconsciously. And when we do that, we find that access point, we access the limbic brain, then we bring the trauma up and out of the body. And as the trauma is healed, the shame is released, there is grace, there is forgiveness, there is renewal and reclamation. You become the person you were made to be instead of the person you have determined yourself not good enough to be. So know that if these behaviors play out in your life, this is holding you back. These are your biggest blocks. And I have to create a fun, catchy title to get you guys to watch this, because nobody wants to talk about shame. Nobody wants to admit I have shame. Shame is not fun either way. But it's about turning on the light bulb, shining the light in the darkness, speaking it into existence so that it can dissipate and be released. So know that you are not alone in this. There are many, many people here to support you, whether it's through me, through my free programs, through the free healing session link below, or long-term extended coaching and brain spotting with me as well. All right. I love you guys. Let's release this stuff because it's really all about us being able to free ourselves from the things that hold us back so that we can step into our life purpose, make a living doing it, step into our abundance birthright so that we can create heaven on earth. Your purpose is my purpose, and I'm here for you. All right. Please do make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Just a little emoji comment is super, super helpful for the YouTube algorithm. I would greatly appreciate it. Otherwise, make sure you subscribe or click this video because it is customized just for you. All right. Take care, my friends. Namaste. I love you.